This is the color mixing video for the red onion painting that I'm going to begin today. On my palette I have raw sienna, yellow ochre, Naples yellow, olive green, a medium green, a little brighter green. These all have different names depending on manufacturers, so I don't always use the name. And here's a very bright green. This is a cadmium red light, magenta, raw umber, burnt umber, violet, cobalt blue, and white. I'll be mixing all the major color groups of the painting. I'm not trying to mix every single color in the painting, but just the major groups that I can work from. So I've got some reds and purples and some darker reddish browns and various shades of green. And then some of the lighter colors for the roots. I'll begin with the darker colors. I'll use some raw umber with some violet. The advantage of trying to get all your color groups mixed up before you start painting is that it will save you a lot of time, and you won't have to stop and start and concentrate on color mixing. You can concentrate on the painting. Next I'll go one shade lighter. Use a little bit of magenta. With that same color that I just mixed. I usually mix more of each color than you'll see me in this demonstration, just because I don't have a great deal of room on this palette. But try to mix up enough color so you're going to have plenty to finish the painting. Now I'll go a little magenta and just keep going with that. So magenta and raw umber is what this is, really. Add a little more of that raw umber. I'm going to need a little bit of more of a purpler color, so some violet in there and magenta. Then I'll add a little bit of white to get that lighter highlight color. That's a little pinker than I want. A little purpler, I should have said. Add a little bit of cadmium red light into that. Cadmiums are very powerful colors, and you can see that I probably put a little more in there than I intended. Here's a little more of a brownish violet. I'm going to lighten it just a little bit of white. Picking up some of that lighter almost a lavender, I suppose you'd call it. A little bit of that cadmium this time. Some white with that same color. A little more magenta. It's important in any painting, I think, unless your palette can be as bright as you'd like it to be, but in a more natural coloring, it's important to note that colors in nature often fool us. They appear much brighter to our eye than they really are. So even though this is kind of a bright pink to my eye on the painting, it's a little duller in reality. And I can always brighten that up some with some overpainting of a brighter color if it is a little too dull when I get going. Okay, that's, I think, good for all my purple reddish colors, except for there is a brighter red where some of the peel comes off. Some magenta and cadmium. Red light will give me that very nice, intense but not too intense red. So I want to clean my pilot knife and then I can mix these greens. We'll start with this medium green color. If you're using Winsor & Newton, this is Terra Verte. Add a little bit of raw umber to it so it's not as bright. Then I need a darker version of that for the greens that are in shadow. Some more raw umber. And then the lighter green. A little bit of white. A little darker than that. So now I have 4 greens, and then in the where the stalks are close to the onion bulb, it's almost white but not quite, so I'll go ahead and mix that up. parts of this look white in the photograph because it's just slightly overexposed in those areas. Job as a painter is not to copy the photograph, but to use the photographs that we've taken for reference. I always work from my own photographs. It's fine to use photographs you find on the internet just for practice, but you should never copy other people's work like that and try to sell it. Cameras are very inexpensive. You can use your phone, of course, and build up all sorts of reference material to paint from. Part of your job as an artist is to compose the photograph to help you compose the painting and make whatever changes you want as you paint. And I think that's a good start. There's some darker colors in the painting, but I'll just be using mostly raw umber on those. So let's get painting.